There are two big questions right now from both Tesla investors and critics. First, is Nvidia becoming a real threat to Tesla's Robotaxi business? And second, can xAI's Grok actually catch up to leaders like OpenAI and Anthropic? At first glance, Nvidia looks strong. They've partnered with 19 automakers and are powering much of the industry: chips, simulation, AI models. But here's the difference. Tesla has something no one else has: over 8.5 billion miles of real-world driving data. That's the hardest part, and Nvidia can't manufacture that. And most of Nvidia's partners, they're still in early pilots, aiming for real deployment around 2027. They'll still need to integrate, build, and scale. That will take time. Now, on the AI side, xAI clearly has a massive compute advantage, but more compute doesn't instantly mean the best model. That said, Elon Musk believes Grok can catch up to OpenAI and Anthropic by the end of this year. So the way to think about this is simple. Nvidia is building the tools. Tesla is building the system, from data to AI to real-world deployment. And over time, that difference could be everything. We got Brian Wang joining us today. He's a futurist thought leader and a popular science blogger with 1 million readers per month. Check out his YouTube channel at Next Big Future, and his blog, nextbigfuture.com, is ranked #1 science news blog. Welcome, Brian.
Great to be here, Herbert.
I appreciate that you do all this work. There's a lot of slides, a lot of data that you're going to present, and you're going to explain. The biggest thing, of course, is Jensen was on stage this week. He announced 4 new automakers as partners. That makes 19 new automakers, and everybody just came out and said, that's it, Tesla's toast. They're in trouble. These guys have partnered with Nvidia, and of course, Nvidia is a powerhouse. They've got what it takes, but I think you're going to explain data, tools, everything that's happening. Take us through your slides. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Nvidia has the chips. I think they have the new Thor chip or something like that for their driving system. They've been using other car makers have been using their on chip for just driver assist, so more an autopilot level system that they have in a few million cars. But for their new level 4 system that is supposed to be FSD equivalent, that has not been installed, I think, in virtually any cars. If they are in tiny, tiny volumes, and they haven't gotten many miles with it because, as we know, you can make a AI3 or AI4 chip, but until you actually have them deployed in vehicles and getting miles, you're not actually learning anything. And I don't think any of them, or very few of them, have built any data centers. They have to gather and shove the data back. So there's many things that they have not achieved yet. They're just having a chip that's uninstalled doesn't do anything for you.
Okay. And show us the data here that you've prepared.
Yeah. So even Waymo and Baidu are not using the NVIDIA chips. They're also competitors to Tesla. They have some unsupervised vehicles using LiDAR. They're not using NVIDIA chips. They have their own custom chips. Waymo has a custom silicon in their 6th generation. They own their own AI. They have their own data. They have 2,500 to 3,000 vehicles running it. Baidu also has some similar number of vehicles. They have some Kunlun proprietary chip that they have. So they're all the 3 leaders of Robotaxi. Tesla's in that category too. Have custom silicon and have end-to-end AI solutions that do not involve NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is helping all the people who could not, all the companies that could not do their own system. So now they have BYD. BYD came out with their own chips and systems, I think with some other partner, and they said that we're going to put it into all of our cars. That was a big announcement from like a year or 2 ago. That at BYD, hey, we're coming for Tesla, and then we're going to do that. Apparently, that was only a autopilot driver assist level, although with some LiDAR. And then they're going to start using this Drive Hyperion thing with Thor Compute with an Alpha Mail AI full stack. But that has not been installed in vehicles yet. And if they start making them in quantity, like NVIDIA had the chip design, but then you have to have TSMC presumably make those chips, send them to the manufacturer, and start pumping them out. Most of them are talking 2027 that they may start deploying vehicles with this thing. And then deploying the vehicles you have not trained on it. Like NVIDIA has not said, yes, this all comes with NVIDIA's trained the stuff up, we deployed it. No, they've done simulations, and they think, okay, we can do, great simulations and stuff. And Wave has talked about, they can one-shot cities without data, which, but basically they're popping it into cities and driving it around and having some level of capability that, doesn't need real world data. But I would be really shocked if they can get to high levels of dependability without actually driving around and getting the education out.
So what you're saying is that even though they made these announcements, you got to ask your question. When they say we've got 19 automaker partners, what are they? Some of them could just be, we're buying the Nvidia chips. We need a GPU in the car. Tesla makes their own AI4, AI5, AI6 chips in the future. What are you doing? They're going to buy the chips. Some of them are going to use a simulation engine and the automaker, but that is a plan for the future, because in order to do that, you need to have a car that actually has sensors in it. They don't even have those at this point, right? Yeah.
Right.
And then one that's interesting is BYD. Why would BYD partner with Tesla or Nvidia because they were announced as part of the partner? Because they have their own system. They have their own, and I think of course it's to buy the chips or to buy some. What do you think it is? Yeah,
I think it's also the simulation stuff. I think NVIDIA is a leader in simulation, so I think that's something that you really want to use. Whether for them to use NVIDIA's Thor chip for all their cars, I'm pretty sure NVIDIA is going to charge a couple of grand for that at least. Mm-hmm. So that's going to your supposed price point for your vehicle was going to be like $20,000, $30,000, and now instead of doing your own chip, which maybe only costs $200, $300, now you're going to pay $2,000 plus other stuff on top. So it's unclear what their strategy is. Uber has no competing thing, so they can say, okay, in 2027 we'll deploy some vehicles with that, but that's probably deployment supervised and not unsupervised.
Let me play NVIDIA's actual announcement, Jensen Huang, when he talked about it, and then he includes robots as well. It's very, very impressive. Let's watch what he does.
Today we are announcing 4 new partners for NVIDIA's Robotaxi ready platform. BYD, Hyundai, Nissan, Geely, all together, 18 million cars built each year, joining our partners from before, Mercedes, Toyota, GM. The number of robo-taxi-ready cars in the future are going to be incredible. And we're announcing also a big partnership with Uber. Multiple cities, we're going to be deploying and connecting these robo-taxi-ready vehicles into their network. And so a whole bunch of new cars. We have ABB, Universal Robotics, KUKA, so many robotics companies here. And we're working with them to implement our physical AI models integrated into simulation systems so that we could deploy these robots into manufacturing lines all over. We have Caterpillar here. We even have T-Mobile here. And the reason for that is in the future, that radio tower used to be a radio tower, is going to be an Nvidia aerial AI RAN. And so this is going to be a robotics radio tower, meaning it can reason about the traffic, figures out how to adjust its beamforming so that it could save as much energy as possible and increase the amount of fidelity as possible. There's so many humanoid robots here, but one of my favorites is a Disney robot. You know what? Tell you what, let me just show you some of the videos. Let's look at that first.
The first global rollout of physical AI at scale is here. Autonomous vehicles. And with Nvidia Alpamayo, vehicles now have reasoning, helping them operate safely and intelligently across scenarios. We ask the car to narrate its actions.
I'm changing lanes to the right to follow my route.
Explain its thinking as it makes decisions.
There's a double parked vehicle in my lane. I'm going around it.
follow instructions.
Hey, Mercedes, can you speed up?
Sure, I'll speed up.
This is the age of physical AI and robotics. Around the world, developers are building robots of every kind. But the real world is massively diverse, unpredictable, full of edge cases. Real-world data will never be enough to train for every scenario. We need data generated from AI and simulation. For robots, compute is data. Developers pre-train world foundation models on internet-scale video and human demonstrations and evaluate the model's performance to prepare them for post-training. Using classical and neural simulation, they generate massive amounts of synthetic data and train policies at scale.
Very impressive. Very, very, very impressive. That he actually went in a 2.5-hour drive around San Francisco with the Mercedes Alpha Mayo, and it looked fantastic, the video. Turns out that there were several interventions that had to be taken, but they cut that out, of course. That was reported afterwards. So it's like they're behind. They make it look like they're ahead, or they're. It's like Robotaxi ready solution. What's your take on people going, it's ready. They've done it. They've solved it. That's what it sounds like.
When Elon says, "Hey, we're going to make AI5 chips," does that mean we're installed? No, we're not installed yet. We're going to have them in production, middle of next year, hopefully. So same thing. So now Nvidia's got their chip, not installed yet. No production cars. Mercedes, they've been their partner since last year. 0 installed. Big fat 0. So we have some, running around. So we have cybercabs running around. The cybercabs been running around since November or even earlier last year. You were at the event where you had some cybercabs, hand-built cybercabs running around, right? So does that mean we have unsupervised robotaxi? No, there was a gap, a year, right? So same thing for them. So they're talking about Mercedes is going to have the chip inside maybe by the second half of this year, and then some other things coming out next year. But those will be future unsupervised L4. So, how good will their supervised version be? Is it going to be FSD 11, FSD 12? What are we talking about here? And then for all the other ones, if they need LiDAR, so where are these factories with robotaxi grade LiDAR? You've made like 2,000 vehicles a year. You have 10,000 robotaxi grade LiDAR. Each one needs 5. So 18 million cars could have it, but if per year, but I need 90 million LiDAR. So I don't see a factory, and there's no announcement of $10 billion factory making all this LiDAR for all these cars that's going to work.
That's just all about timing, isn't it? It's like these guys are still behind, but it's going to take even the automakers themselves time to implement it. And they're pulling back on EV manufacturing in the first place, let alone some sort of autonomous driving. So it's not like we're going to see a company come out and go, we've got 1 million per year that we're competing right now. Tesla has their cybercab already coming out, already proven to be, really truly robotaxi ready. And I like the way that he downplayed real world data. He goes, you just will never have enough real world data, so you need simulation data. Well, It's actually the other way around, isn't it? Right? Can you explain that a little bit? I mean, you need simulation data, but you actually need massive amounts, 8.5 billion worth of real world data to be able to then do proper simulation data. Can you explain that?
So basically you need edge cases, and the weird edge cases occur like 1 every million miles. That's what Elon had indicated. So the 8.5 billion miles means that they found 8,000, 10,000 really weird, funky edge cases that occur enough to make things dangerous. So most of the time you're driving, and it's an ordinary drive, nothing happened, right? People, that's the 99% that people learn nothing from. So you have to, because if you could simulate that, we know all the edge cases, then you wouldn't have to gather the miles. True, right? But you don't know what they are. It's because it's these weird freak occurrences that you get from the real world tells you this weird thing is happening.
Yeah, okay.
But they can maybe be able to say something. Like if they can simulate something, maybe they could do it with 2 billion miles. instead of 8.5 billion. If they need fewer miles, because they can, but that's a hypothetical. Maybe they could get some stuff with fewer miles, but it's not going to be 0 miles. It's not going to be a million, not going to be 10 million. It's going to be billion plus. Like to Elon's point, order magnitude 1 billion, 10 billion.
Yeah, so Tesla already has 9 million cars, right? 8 million cars, 9 million cars out there, all have cameras. They've been tracking data, as we know, with FSD supervised. So some people are already disengaging, and that gives you another data point to think about. Meanwhile, our competitors, these 19, I think Mercedes made a big deal that we have 100 cars out there that have data tracking already, 100 cars. So they need to still spit out those ones first before anyways, okay, it's all about timing. You wanted to also talk about the bots here, NVIDIA.
Yeah. So they had all those bot partners too. And it's the same thing where Tesla doesn't have an NVIDIA dependency. Figure AI has more funding, and they have less NVIDIA dependency. They're not using the full NVIDIA stack. They're doing other stuff by themselves, because if the common average thing is, okay, I'm going to buy NVIDIA chips, NVIDIA solutions off the shelf. How do you compete then with the other guys? How do you differentiate yourself from the other 100 other makers, right? I'm the same as them. I have no special sauce. I'm just white labeling or stopping a new label onto the NVIDIA stuff. So that would mean NVIDIA's raising the water, and then you're somehow going to compete with that. If you don't have your own solution, you cannot be differentiated. You have to be doing something different. Otherwise, you're just saying, once NVIDIA solves it, I will then sell some low margin thing that does it too. That's basically what everyone else is saying, right?
Yeah.
And figures in some BMW pilots. Again, nothing. All of the other guys have less deployment. Like I didn't see Figure on stage there, even though I think they're still part of the NVIDIA stuff. But they're not saying, I'm buying 100,000 NVIDIA chips and deploying these bots. None of the other guys, they're all also run guys behind who have less stuff. So it's almost a sign of like, I don't have the funding to make this on my own. I need to leverage NVIDIA's stuff because I'm not good enough to get enough money to do this by myself.
Exactly.
So I need to,
yeah. Okay. I like that. Very well explained. Okay. That's the clearest explanation. Nicely done. All right. So is this what is I guess this
this is some of the leading partners that NVIDIA has on the car side.
So
Kodiak is a truck company.
Truck company, yes, of course. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
They have self-driving trucks. They have 20 fully self-driving trucks.
Yes.
They have 3 million miles. They are deploying without stuff. They're using a lot of sensors because they're saying, I think they're going from depot to depot. So they're saying, I'm going to just solve this thing where I'm going to drive highway driving, which can be easier and safer because I got to keep the thing centered. I just can't run into stuff. And if I load up on sensors, even though it's a brittle solution, they can do it with less miles. But they're not going to be going, inside cities and doing a bunch of weird stuff because they're saying, I'm only dealing with highway and between depot to depot. So I'm not going into cities. So the depots outside of cities where I can load up the truck and stuff like that. Uber, zero in production. They had previously their own program. They shut it down because they had some accidents early on. And then, so now they're saying, I'm going asset R&D light. So they're taking other people's solutions. So they partner with everyone who's doing a solution. They want to partner with Tesla, but they're not getting the partnership with Tesla. And then they're going to deploy some vehicles. So for them, spending money and say, I'll shove your vehicles out there. I'll slap Uber on it. Hyundai, Kia, they're going to do some pilots, Ionic pilots, test programs in Vegas, small scale testing. They have a global production fleet of the L2 autopilot grade stuff. They have a lot of those, but they have not stepped up to autonomous driving, and they have maybe 2 million miles of that. They've also, I think, done some stuff with Motional, some other guys. BYD Geely, again, zero, L4. So, and Geely tends to make cars for a bunch of other companies. So they don't have any kind of like standard solution. They're like the cheap manufacturer shoving out, boxes. So very much it's like competing with Apple with ultra cheap Android phones. I take other people's stuff and I just shove it out there.
Yeah.
So that's just the
Okay.
status of where people are.
Gotcha. Thank you for doing this. This is fantastic to put everything in perspective. Even though you hear Uber is going to be the leader in autonomous marketplace, okay, you have zero production yourself, and then the question is, are competitors coming? Well, who are they, and how long will it take for them to put there? And so some people think by listening to Nvidia announcement that they're like next year everybody will have all 19 will have thousands or tens of thousands, millions, and then they're going to be. It's just not
Right.
the case.
And the fourth column just shows none of them have 1,000 GPU cluster.
Oh, this one here. Okay, yeah.
Tesla has go to 100,000 GPUs. xAI aim to 1 million GPUs. They don't have the GPUs, and I don't think they even have like the AI developer teams, right? It's like no one's actually working. They don't pay the $1 million per person that you need, or $10 million per person you need to get a really good AI person to do this stuff. They're like buying stuff, and they struggle with over-the-air updates.
Even over-the-air updates. But Brian, so isn't it is that one of the things that Nvidia provides, that they have the 1,000 GPU clusters?
They can do some kind of cloud partnership thing. But if they had it, if that was a big part of their R&D strategy, that would be an announcement from BYD or someone saying, hey, we got a cluster, we're doing some stuff, we have a team, we're doing something, right? They're just saying, hey, we're partnering with people, help give us a solution, please. We don't have it.
Nice. Exactly. Okay. So thank you for putting all this together. Basically at the same time, right? Nvidia has tools, right? They give you the chips, they give you simulation software. They might even rent you the GPU cluster, but you have to have the data, and then you need to have,
You're
time
sticking cars. You need to
get
the supply
cars.
chain.
Yeah. And if you don't have the data, then and you don't have the supercomputer, then what are you doing? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. What's a thought about sharing data? Brian White made a good point. He said that, it's not like, okay, you have 19 partners. Do you think that Mercedes will share their data that they learned with BYD, and everybody will share data with each other so they can learn? Or don't you think that if BYD has spent so much money to outfit 1 million cars, and then they're out there capturing data, that they were going to share that data with Mercedes and, all the other partners? I don't think so, right?
It would be, you'd have to be relatively equal. Like if I have all the data and I'm almost there, why am I partnering with someone else who's got nothing, right? You have to bring something to the table where, okay, now we'll partner because collectively now we can get past the finish line, right? So a partnership only makes sense if I join with you and now we can get across the finish line together, right? If I get across the finish line by myself, why do I care about you? So it would be a sign of some kind of weakness thing, or you're just doing it just because, just some kind of like press release thing, right?
Because that's the impression some people had, was that, these 19 partners, they're now going to catch up to Tesla because they're all sharing data with each other. Well, first you have to have sensors on your cars, spit that out first to millions and then once you do, now let's talk about whether you will share that data with each other or not. That's not announced.
Right. But, maybe Nvidia will, work, because Nvidia knows the other guys need the data too. So a deeper partnership with Nvidia would say, okay, BYD, I'm dumping the money down. I'm going to buy 100,000 chips, and now we're going to somehow work together on some data thing, right? But then Nvidia would have to strengthen the ecosystem. They got load the cash. So then they say, okay, I'm going to dump $10 billion, just like they dumped $10 billion into OpenAI or AMD, right? If you do a big enough order, but then they would only do it if you did like a $50 billion, $100 million order. You have to load up on cash, and then they'll also reinvest in there with you to keep skin in the game to make their ecosystem stronger. But none of the car guys are as flush with cash as OpenAI or Anthropic. So where are these billions coming from? Although, maybe, I don't know. It's the money has to come from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What's this?
So this is xAI and Tesla having the lead in compute. So then the question is, why isn't XAI the best
Right.
model? So
Yes.
one is they're getting even more compute. They're going to put compute into superchargers, which collectively will make them even a 5 times larger compute cluster when they do that, because it's 7 gigawatts of potential right now. Although, again, this has to be deployed against that energy, but the energy is basically there. It's like I built the shell of a macro hard, where I made all the generator turbines and stuff, and I deployed them there. So the energy's there, but I need to then have the building, have the chips deployed, and so I've done step one of many steps, but the potential is to have even more compute for the on the Earth-based XAI computing, which they will make into this product. But then, and we have the large Colossus data center with 500,000 chips and 1.2 gigawatts. So again, more compute. So how come the models aren't better?
Yeah.
It's the inverse problem that that the Tesla Advantage on driving is that we deployed earlier, and we've gotten all this learning and gathering data. Not just gathering data, but like what Andre Kapathy talked about. We had to learn to make things hand coded, and then we were able to replace the code. You had to do these steps before things could happen. And it's the same thing for XAI catching up with Anthropic's Claude Code or Cursor or the other coding models.
OpenAI's
I think
Codex.
Anthropic is ahead where they're delivering more value ahead of the other ones. And I think that Anthropic with Claude Code and Cowork are ahead of OpenAI. So OpenAI has more chat customers, 800 million, but in terms of delivering real revenue value, productivity, I think Anthropic is ahead. And they have a data advantage, as well as they built tools and systems. It's not just because all 4 of them have models, but then all 4 are behind in terms of delivering real value. And the fact they had a working model, you need to then master the use case of and deliver productivity. So there's more work involved, and also specialized data, just like the 8 billion miles. We need to have specialized data for coding, specialized data for business problems. So you need to be working the space. Also, the compute helps you with the pre-training part of it, but there's several phases to your models: pre-training, reinforcement learning, and then the other time on whatever learning thing. There's several phases of the learning thing, which a big coherent model lets you get raw intelligence, but then you need to do more to make it better. And they also haven't had enough time to do it. So once they build the compute, it takes me many months to get it up and working, and then I do the training. So we have a pretty good model built off of a fair amount of compute for Grok 4.20, right? But then it will be another 6 months before we get the other stuff. So again, no magic.
This is an old slide.
Talking about the previous
slide. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Slide. So we get 10 times more inference than just the cars from the superchargers. So it's even bigger than leveraging the cars. Is to once we put it into the other places. You can go down to the next one. That triple compute is not a top model yet. So the pre-training doesn't make instant coding supremacy. Coding wins from post-training, a lot of data stuff.
Reinforcement learning.
So there's a lot of hard work involved. I think so. Elon's talking about 6 to 9 months to do the catch up.
Yes.
And that's roughly, he's assessing the proper thing of like doing the right work. And then he hired 2 people from Cursor who are like people who made the better coding system that Claude Code then surpassed Cursor. But he has people who are kind of like made the system that was as good, but just didn't have as much compute, didn't have as much competitive money.
Okay. Because the concern that people are saying right now, so first of all, Claude Code made by Anthropic has reached incredible, like you said, advancement to the point that it's impacting real world productivity, right? It can really do things that can, in fact, there was a SaaS apocalypse, stocks fell because everybody thought, oh my God, this can actually replace law firms. It can replace, LegalZoom, those kind of companies. But they have reached recursive reinforcement learning improvement, right? Which means that because you get this coding system that's already so good, it's what it's using itself to code itself for the next version, and then the next version, and next version. So you can get better and better, faster and faster. Meanwhile, you've got Codex catching up with Claude Code, OpenAI's Codex with Anthropic's Claude Code, both of them leaders. You've got Grok, okay, kind of like catching up with the LLM part, but they don't have the coding side of it nailed. They've got 5 times triple compute right now, and you're saying, okay, don't worry. It's early days, and you're saying Grok 5 might leap ahead, but then they've hired the Codex guys, the Cursor guys.
Yeah.
And then they've got the right team in place now to build the coding part of it. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, they have the right team to build a coding system that will then have the productivity.
Of which, if you put it on top of the compute, that allows them the chance. But do they have the data?
So I think they're gathering the coding data. I also think that, so it's out in GitHub and other places. So also, coding data is something that can be synthetically created. That it's actually more conducive to synthetic data creation. So I think they can get to a useful competitive point. The question would be, how much would you need to have a competitive product out there where people are using it to get to the point where you're a leader? So I think they can get in the game in 6 to 9 months where they have a competitive product as good as anything like Claude Code like last year with left data, right? But then in terms of like how much differential is that, so then it's a race. So but I think also the more coding will let you iterate faster. So I think that there's still an advantage to having the compute, right? It's the other. It's like having more horsepower in the engine. So I may not have the Formula 1 driver. I have a Formula 3 driver or something like that. I can get a race driver, and then I need to get up to Formula 1. But if I have a superior engine, I got double the horsepower versus you, then that will help me overcome my disadvantage.
Maybe catch up a little bit. Gotcha. And then if you take that logic, it's probably easier. Let's just tell me if I'm right. Easier to catch up to the coding advantage that these guys have than it is for them to catch up with the scaled compute advantage that XAI has.
Right.
That's hard.
Right. That's a hard thing. It involves billions of dollars, and also because they continue to stack on and say, okay, now I'm going to have as much inference compute as I need. Dario talked about, okay, I build a 1 gigawatt data center, $50 billion, and I use half of it for my training because I need to keep making my models better, making my coding better. And then my other half I use for inference.
Yeah. So that when people ask questions, there's enough compute to give you the answer fast. Yeah.
Right, to do the coding and the stuff like that. But Elon can just say, I can use all of my central database, my central compute thing for training and reinforcement learning, and then I have another 5 times, 7 times as much inference flowing around elsewhere.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting because now that XAI has been bought by SpaceX and they have revenue streams coming from Starlink, now XAI doesn't need to survive like Anthropic does. In order for Anthropic to survive, they need to generate an incredible billions of dollars that they're charging people like me, right? Because I'm using Anthropic's API now, and I'm paying like $50 to $100 a day of my usage of the compute. People like me started paying Anthropic a lot of money. And now they're going to make $20 billion a year. Maybe I think that's the estimate for this year. But if Tesla decides or XAI decides, hey, I'm not going to charge consumers as much. If that's not my priority, I can use all of my compute to build the best compute algo out there to just leapfrog these guys. And that's why Elon is so confident that, look, these guys are in trouble financially, business model wise. They need to turn into revenue, and XAI may not need to do that right now.
Right. And then the other thing is that he has a new product, which is the Digital Optimus.
Macro hard,
which is leveraging the vision systems, which he's been perfecting for years in FSD.
Gotcha.
and then
Yes.
shoving those 5 seconds of video at 150 frames per second, so like 1,000 frames of video in it to analyze that part of it.
Can you
So
explain that? Okay, so let me understand this, because I know I'm playing with Claude Cowork today, and I'm playing with Claude Code. I'm playing with OpenClaw. So these are agentic AIs that are able to do a lot of things now. That you can hook it up to Salesforce, to Slack, and it can send you a Slack message. You can go and open up a website and read X X posts. It can create PowerPoints. It can go to Excel spreadsheets. So it almost feels like these agents can actually go to these websites and actually do things within them. But you're saying that, okay, Elon is saying actually for true human emulation, to do everything that a human can do when they're sitting in front of a computer, you need to look at it, whatever the screen is you're seeing, and understand it. So I'm imagining what he means by that would be like, let's say you're a worker right now, you work for some company and they have a specialized, you work for healthcare, and there's an electronic medical record. You're a nurse. You have to look at that, and you have to like input you just took somebody's blood and you have to input the data in a certain way. This system can just look at it just like a human would, understand the context, understand what's all the buttons are and all that, actually physically do the buttons, type in everything in. And that is a better system than, let's say, Claude Code could do, because it doesn't understand the context. It's almost exactly what's happening with driving, where you've got LiDAR. It's a crutch because the LiDAR systems, they don't actually know that that's fog. They just think it's a blank wall. They don't know that that's a fire hydrant. They just know there's something there, don't hit it. And so they're driving around. Looks like that they know what they're doing because they're like, moving around, but they don't know the context. Versus Tesla, because it's an actual brain, it's an actual neural net. It truly understands the context of what's actually happening, everything, that it can actually make the proper reasoning and the proper planning and the proper decision. Is that what we're talking about? Can you explain that?
Yeah, we're talking that also. How does OpenClaw do it? Are they doing it via APIs, where they have a programming interface, right?
Well, I mean, it's various ways you can do OAuth or APIs, but mostly it's API. So I can change out the model, whichever brain I want that OpenClaw is using, whether I'm using Claude Code or Codex or whatever system I want to do the coding itself. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if I'm using API, I think 80-90% of the programs out there do not have an API. So then Digital Optimus can handle any application, any interface without going through that API. And
there's no need for an interface because they're using MCP is what they use to be able to interface with another system. I see what you're saying. So you don't need that translation anymore. You can just use Vision.
Right. You're using Vision going directly into the thing. You're able to do white collar work as a ghost white collar worker. Right.
Gotcha.
And then I can open the screen. I got like 20 browser windows open or something like that. I got a bunch of other stuff, and it can handle it because it's seeing exactly the 1,000 frames, every 5 seconds. Right. So I'm looking at every frame. I can also see it interact as I move the mouse around, and I can type in the keys, and it can actually interact with it just like a normal person would, right? So it's a generalized solution to all desktop
to the world. Everything. You don't have to okay, gotcha. So even though these guys have a lead and it looks like that they're agentic, it truly can do things now. It's only for, let's say, 100 or 1,000 different apps that they've physically done an integration to.
Right.
Okay.
So now I can integrate with everything that, if I can launch it on the screen, I can interact with it. If I open up a website, I can interact. Other people have some stuff where they kind of go with the browser, but not at the rate that this thing will go at. This thing can go at 8 times human productivity, right? That's what they said that they're using inside XAI at 8 times human productivity. So not only are they going as fast as a human, they've gone up maybe 10 times faster than a regular human in terms of it's like those things where you see data on Star Trek, opening up screens and piling through stuff, right? It's that kind of extra speed where I'm not only interacting with the computer at normal human typing speed, but at maybe 1,000, 2,000 characters a minute or something like that.
Yeah, I've got a video of Elon being interviewed by Peter Diamandis, and he explained that.
Can outperform a skyscraper of several hundred human computers,
Right.
of people doing calculations. Now, if even a few cells in that spreadsheet were done manually, you would not be able to compete with a spreadsheet that was entirely a computer. Yeah. What this means is that companies that are entirely AI will demolish companies that are not.
So he's saying, right, that you're just saying that these AIs, if they emulate a human, means that they can control anything that any human can do today. Like this is so first principle. It's so reminiscent of what he did with everything he does. It's always like, let's not reinvent the world, right? Like we have to create a human or robot because it's got to interact with the existing world. You don't want to change the world, right? Like these other factory bots that have these special clippers. Well, then you need to have those special bins that the clippers can actually connect to. Okay, and that works for that, but it doesn't work for like any other bin. But a human hand can do anything that humans can do today. So he's doing the same thing here. And he's saying there that if basically what he's saying is that he thinks that XAI, these guys are selling a subscription to me and you to help me do my job. He is going to create an entire business and replace all humans in that business with either AI for the white collar work or robots for the physical work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's going for complete no compromise. I will do everything that the white collar thing can do. Whether it gets to this year or not is an interesting question.
It won't be this year. Yeah,
right.
But for them to catch up to Cloud Code this year, that's questionable. Yeah,
right. But where is there an advantage for them to be able to interact with the screen in an uncompromising way? What are the first things that they start grabbing at? They say, okay, this is a solution with a big TAM, a bunch of things where I can then grab it and then sell 1 million copies or do something. That's the interesting question about
right, because what he's saying is that, first of all, he said that Digital Optimus is supposed to roll out to users 6 months from now.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe select users, whatever. But the point is that just like vision, just like the cars, you have to have vision. Like you use a vision. So I'm not saying that it's a camera. It doesn't need a camera if it's a computer screen.
Video feed, yeah.
But it's a video feed of that computer screen, which the other guys don't know how to do this. OpenAI, Anthropic, they've never done this, right? So you're taking the vision model that you've done for full self-driving and you're watching the screen. So theoretically is if they watch a lawyer use their proprietary software at their proprietary law firm to use what they use today, you watch enough videos of that person just watching the screen, this thing will learn it and do it.
Right. And the other thing is that they're leveraging solutions that have already been made. They are getting tens of gigabytes from every car. Every time you do a drive, they're sucking back tens of gigabytes off that. You have to suck tens of gigabytes off of our screen here. I'm doing a bunch of stuff, and I need to suck those tens of gigabytes over and dump someplace. Right, but they have and they have the cloud system to suck it in there, or they have
a data center,
and they have some
the
stuff,
most thin,
right, and they have visual systems and storage inside the vehicle. So I'm sucking data from a visual system into the car that has an AI4 chip, and
which
then
is optimized for visual system.
Optimized for visual system, and then I kick out occasional, I really don't understand what's going on. I need some extra strategic help or something from the cloud. So it's mirrored the architecture for the same kind, a parallel use case. So a vision-based use case that I'm dumping to the chip in the car that has the...
Yeah, because what you're talking about now is Elon saying that even every one of our cars already has an AI4 chip in it, and that can be used, and I can make money because it's my car, and if it's parked, I can make money because it's doing office work. My wife asked me, what do you mean by office work? I had to like kind of explain this stuff like law firms, accounting firms. In fact, now that XAI actually hired a bunch of financial accountants to teach it to make sure that it can become a full accountant. And so it does. Okay. So this vision only system the vision system is very different than LLMs, than the coding that these guys are doing. This is context aware, watching what's going on the screen, context, and then be able to act on it quickly. And then that's where the large data centers matter.
Yeah, and also it's a vision heavy data. Visual systems are data heavy, so it's like I need a lot of data. I'm sucking back tens of gigabytes. I need to do some stuff to crunch it a bit in the car, so I'm not like sending up crazy amounts to the cloud. But then I still need to communicate to the cloud for the extra level of understanding and doing stuff. So it's again framing the problem as literally something similar to how FSD works. But I'm, yeah.
I was going to try to come up with an acronym for FSD, like full
vision system, a full vision,
full
automation.
self doubling or something, coupling. Oh my gosh! So this is, boy, it's hard to understand what he's saying, but now you've explained it. It makes it a lot easier to understand. XAI Colossus scale and reality check: 300,000 chips used, now 500,000 plus, 1.2 gigawatts. World's largest single coherent cluster, scaling to 1 million mid 2026. This is just the Colossus 1.
Yeah, Colossus 1 and 2. I think Colossus 1 and 2.
And then they're already talking about Colossus 3 now. Right. And apparently I heard that Colossus 2 and 3 are coherent.
Right.
And so it's like these guys are so far ahead of everyone else. And then the question is then, okay, great. Then why haven't you shown it? And it's looking like, as typical Elon, it's like, you guys are playing a totally different game. You guys play your game. You look like you're in the lead now. But what we're doing is everything. We're going to take over everything and anything. It can apply to anything.
Yeah. So, and then there's some delays. So the next slide is saying that there's some delays in doing.
I don't have your next slide.
I build it. Yeah. Okay. So there's some delays. It's like it takes 6 months to do something, 9 months. Like it just building the stuff is one thing. You have to get them, efficient, working together. There's various times that have to kind of like happen. So we're going to see the unleashed like 500,000 chips with like Grok 5, hopefully in the next few months. So then we'll see, okay, how much of that, but then there's still some stuff of like making the Grok 5 code that would take a bit more time and they have to do some other work. So it's going to start paying off. And the fact that you have this advantage means that you will be running laps faster, but other guys are several laps ahead, but you're going to run the laps faster because they got more horsepower behind it. So yeah.
And then you wanted to talk about Stargate because OpenAI announced that $1 trillion of investment to make this largest data center the size of Manhattan. And then the word this week is that that's dead. As Elon predicted, they don't have the money and that's dead, right?
Well, they have, I think far less. I think it's going to be like $100 billion or like a couple of gigawatts. So it's a nice big system over there. And then also the other thing I want to talk about probably now is that Microsoft is talking about suing them for the Amazon deal. So Microsoft did the big deal. Oh, we're buying 50% of OpenAI, and we love each other and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then a few years kind of drifted apart. And now February, Amazon does a deal, $50 billion and another $100 billion, some investment. And Microsoft saying, hey, we have some exclusive here. And so maybe we'll sue you over that. So they're negotiating. Maybe they won't sue. Maybe they will. How that works out, I don't know. But it's a kind of a pattern with Sam Altman, where it's like, so he had that deal. Nvidia, he did a deal with them where they're going to do some exclusive, and then like a month later, he did a deal with AMD. And Jensen kind of goes like, "What the heck?" We were supposed to have something together, and then.
That's why Jensen Huang pulled back, by the way. He was going to give even more money. And then he had to the reporters are all asking him, I thought you said it was going to be a lot more. And he goes, it's not what I said. He had to pull back. He's going to give less.
I had the option of investing more, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Elon's lawsuit where it's going to be nonprofit, it goes for profit. And then 2023 was when the big board fight happened at OpenAI, where Sam got booted out and then came back in. And the board said it was because he was lying, deceiving, and manipulating, and not giving all the information. Like again, there's the same kind of pattern of like he does what he wants, he tells you what he wants, and then he just goes off and does what he feels like doing. Mm-hmm. So the 4 patterns of Sam. So
Sam Altman. And well, the question is, can they actually build the data centers? Isn't it funny how the topic of today was autonomous vehicles and then AI, and then it's basically back to the same thing. Do you have the data, and do you have the data centers? And these guys seem to be ahead, but actually, no. It's all about, do you have a big giant supercomputer, and what kind of data do you have? Tesla's always, regardless if it's driving or white collar work, it's video.
Yeah, and you have to have a team that's worked on a particular problem, a really hard problem, and developed some work on it. So we worked on the video and the vision problems and got some lead on that. And we worked on the driving problem and got a lot of data specifically to that problem. And some of the other guys have a bit more data and have worked on solutions for the coding side a bit more. But other guys are catching up, and we're going to catch up on that. So, and then how long does it take to get to that full solution with the AI? So
great show. Always love to get your expertise to get us up to speed. These were the two biggest questions I've been hearing this entire week. I myself have asked that question to you. Right. How come XAI is behind? You were telling me, remember we did all these great shows 6 months ago, how much, which came true. You said that basically Tesla's already, Elon's speed of creating these data centers is so fast. And then you were mapping it all out, and you knew that, they're going to get to 1 million. And by that point, where are the others? They're far behind. But what I assumed was that they were also going to leapfrog. And they kind of did. They kind of like started to beat them, and then they fell behind. And that's where, okay, now you explained why that's the case. So thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Brian. Check out Next Big Future. Check out nextbigfuture.com. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.